Hello students, welcome back to the Bridge course. I am Shailendra Darekar, Assistant Professor at AISSMS College of Hotel Management and Catering Technology. Before beginning the new session, let us revise what we have learned in previous session. So, in previous session, we have learned what is forest, different types of forests, function of forest, use of forest, ecological uses and other uses, direct and indirect benefits, exploitation of forest, in which we learn deforestation, deficiency of forest. Then we have learned dam effect on forest and tribal people. Let's see what are the objectives of today's session. In today's session, we are going to learn conservation of forest, relationship between deforestation and biodiversity, relationship between deforestation and tribal population. We are also going to see mineral resources, use of mineral resources, exploitation of mineral and its effect, environmental damages caused by mining activity. Let's begin with conservation of forest. Prevention measures for deforestation involve a combination of policies, practices and action aimed at reducing the loss of forest and promoting sustainable forest management. Some of the key prevention measures for conserving forest. First one, forest protection and conservation. Establishing an effectively managing protected areas, national park and conservation reserve help safeguard forest from unsustainable exploitation and land conservation. Next point, sustainable forest management. Promoting sustainable forest management practices such as selective logging, reducing impact logging and agroforestry help maintain forest health and productivity while allowing for the extraction of forest resource in the responsible manner. Reforestation and afforestation. Planting tree on deforested land through reforestation and afforestation initiative help restore forest cover, enhance biodiversity, mitigation climate change and provide ecosystem services. This effort can involve planting native tree species, restoring degraded landscapes and integrating tree into agriculture and urban areas. Next point, community engagement and land tenure rights. Involving local communities, indigenous people and forest dependent population in forest management and decision making process foster community ownership, strengthening traditional knowledge system and promoting sustainable resource use practices. Use of wood for fuel should be discouraged. Promotion of alternative livelihoods. Providing alternative income generating opportunity such as ecotourism, non-timber forest products, harvesting, sustainable agriculture and eco-friendly industry reduce reliance on forest resources for livelihoods and alleviates pressure on forest. Forest monitoring and remote sensing. Utilizing remote sensing technology, geographic information system which is GIS and satellite imagery for monitoring forest cover, detecting deforestation hotspot and assessing changes in forest ecosystem enable timely intervention. Forest pest can be controlled by spraying pesticides. Policy and legal frameworks. developing and implementing policies, law and regulations that promote sustainable forest management, biodiversity conservation and land using planning is essential for combating deforestation. Strengthening governance, transparency, accountability in the forestry sector help address corruption and illegal activity that drive deforestation. Next point, international cooperation and funding. Collaborating at the international level through initiatives like RED facilities financial and technology support, technical support for forest conservation, sustainable development and climate change mitigation efforts in forested region. Let us see what is the deforestation relationship with biodiversity. The relationship between deforestation and biodiversity is complex and multifaceted. Deforestation, which involves the removal or clearing of forest, has significant impact on biodiversity, the variety of life form present in an ecosystem. Some of the key aspects of relationship between deforestation and biodiversity. First one, habitat loss and fragmentation. Deforestation results in destruction and fragmentation of natural habitats, which are essential for supporting diverse plant and animal species. Habitat loss and fragmentation restrict the availability of sustainable habitat for wildlife, leading to decline in the population size, reducing genetic diversity and increase vulnerability to destruction. Species extinction. Deforestation is a leading cause of species destruction worldwide. When forests are cleared or degraded, many species lost their homes and food source, making them more susceptible to destruction. Endangered and specialized species which specific habitat require are particularly vulnerable to the impact of deforestation. Next point, loss of keystone species. Deforestation can lead to the loss of keystone species, which play a crucial role in maintaining ecosystem structure and function. Keystone species such as large predator, pollinators, and seed dispersers have disproportionate effect on the abundance and diversity of other species. The decline or extinction due to the habitat loss can trigger cascading effect throughout the ecosystem. Changes in species composition. Deforestation alters the composition and diversity of species within an ecosystem. Some species may adapt to the changes landscape while others may decline. Ecosystem service decline. Forest ecosystems provide a wide range of ecosystem services such as carbon represervation, climate regulation, water purification, and soil stabilization. Deforestation diminishes these services, leading to degraded landscape, loss of ecosystem resilience, and reduced capacity to support biodiversity and human well-being. Biodiversity hotspot. Many of world's biodiversity hotspot regions with exceptionally high level of species richness are heavily threatened by deforestation. This region, which include tropical rainforests, coral bars, and mountainous regions ecosystem, are home to a disappropriate number of species and face significant risk for habitat destruction and land use changes. Our next point is biodiversity hotspots. Many of the world biodiversity hotspot regions with exceptionally high level of species richness are heavily threatened by deforestation. This region, which includes tropical rainforests, coral bars, mountainous region ecosystem, are home to a disproportionate number of species and face significant risks for habitat destruction and land use changes. Conservation challenges. Deforestation poses significant challenges for biodiversity conservation effort. protected area and conservation reserves may become isolated or fragmented by surrounding deforested landscape, making it difficult for species to migrate and maintain viable population. Effective conservation strategy must address both the direct drivers of deforestation and the underlying socio-economic factor driving land use change. Let us see deforestation relationship with tribal population. The relationship between deforestation and tribal population is significant and multifaceted, particularly in regions where indigenous people and forest-dependent communities rely on forests for their livelihoods, culture practices, and traditional knowledge. Here are some key aspects of this relationship. Dependency on forest resource. Many tribal populations have deep cultural, spiritual, and economical tie to forest ecosystems, relying on forests for food, shelter, medicine, fuel wood, and other resources essential for their daily needs. Deforestation and forest degradation threaten the availability and accessibility of these resources, undermining the well-being and resilience of indigenous communities. Next point, displacement and dispossession. Deforestation often leads to displacement and dispossession of tribal population from their ancestral land and territories. Large-scale infrastructure projects, industrial agriculture, lodging concession, and mining operation frequently encroach upon indigenous territories, disrupting traditional land use patterns, eroding cultural identities, and intensifying social inequalities. Loss of livelihoods. Deforestation can deprive tribal population of traditional livelihoods based on forest-based activity, such as hunting, gathering, fishing, and subsistence agriculture. As forests are clearly or degraded, indigenous people may face loss of income, food insecurity, and forced migration, and intensifying poverty and demotion. Cultural erosion. Forests are integral to the cultural identity, spiritual belief, and traditional practices of many tribal communities. Deforestation can erode cultural traditions, knowledge system, and customary governance structure. As the indigenous people lost access to scarce cities, scarce sites, cultural resources, and traditional territories vital for maintaining cultural resilience and transmission of knowledge. Next point, health impact. Tribal population often rely on forests for medicinal plant and traditional healing practices. Deforestation can disrupt access to medicinal resource, increase exposure to environmental pollutant, and exacerbate health disparities among indigenous community, leading to high rate of infectious disease, malnutrition, and chronic health condition, conflict and vulnerability. Deforestation can heighten social tension and conflicts between indigenous community, government agency, and private interests competing for control over forest resource. Indigenous people are often marginalized and disproportionately affected by environmental degradation, land grabbing, and human rights violation, rendering them more vulnerable to exploitation and injustice. Conservation partnership. Despite these challenges, indigenous people and forest-dependent communities play a crucial role in forest conservation and sustainable natural resource management. collaborative conservation initiative that respect indigenous right, empower local communities, and incorporate traditional ecological knowledge are initial for addressing deforestation and promoting biodiversity conservation in forest region. Now let us introduce our next topic, mineral resource. Naturally occurring inorganic crystalline solid with uniform chemical composition are called minerals. Minerals are essential for the formation and functioning of organism, plant, animals, human being. In the modern era, human life needs variety of minerals to sustain industry-based civilization. Mineral resources are broadly defined as an element, chemical compound, and a mixture which are extracted to manufacture sustainable commodity. India has rich mineral source base to provide sustainable base for industrial development in the country. Sufficient reserve of nuclear energy minerals is available in India. Indian reserves as well as production are adequate in petroleum, copper, lead, zinc, tin, graphite, mercury, and in the mineral required for fertilizer industry such as sulfur, potassium, and phosphorus. Let's see the uses of mineral. Due to increased population, there is increased demand on mineral by the industry, transport, agriculture, and defense preparation. Depletion of almost all known and easily accessible deposits in anticipated in near future. Moreover, there may be shortage of some crucial elements such as mercury, tin, copper, gold, silver, and platinum. The limited resource of phosphorus, which is an essential component of chemical fertilizers in another area of concern. Uses of minerals in industries. They are used in development of industrial plant and machinery, construction work, generation of energy, generating of energy, designing of defense equipment like weapon ornaments, agricultural fertilizers and fungicides, jewelry making alloy for various purposes, communication purpose such as telephone, wire, cable, electronic device making, medicinal purpose particularly in Ayurvedic system. Now let's understand exploitation of minerals. Depending on their uses, mineral resource can be divided into several broad categories such as elements for metal production and technology, building material, minerals for the chemical industry, and minerals for agriculture industry. When usually we think about mineral resource, we often think of metals, but the predominant minerals resource are not metallic. The picture of annual world consumption of some elements is as mentioned below. Sodium and iron are used at a rate of about 0.1 to 1 billion metric ton per year. Nitrogen, sulfur, potassium, calcium, and primarily used as a fertilizer at a rate of about 10 to 100 million metric ton per year. Zinc, copper, aluminum, and lead are used as a rate of about 3 to 10 million metric ton per year. Gold and silver are used at the rate of about 10,000 metric ton per year. Out of all the metallic minerals, iron consumption is 95% of the metals consumed. Thus, with the expected of iron, the non-metallic minerals are consumed as much greater rates than the elements used for their metallic properties. Let's see effect of over-exploitation of minerals. Environmental degradation. Over-exploitation often leads to habitat destruction, deforestation, soil erosion, and contamination of land, water, and air. Mining activity can disrupt ecosystem, affecting biodiversity and endangered species that rely on this habitat. Next point, water pollution. Mining operations often require large amount of water for processing minerals, leads to water pollution through the discharge of chemical and heavy metals into river and stream. This pollution can harm aquatic life and affect the quality of drinking water for communities downstream. Air pollution. Mining and processing activity release dust, particulate matter and harmful gases such as sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxide into the atmosphere. These pollutants contribute to air quality degradation and can have serious health effects on nearby communities, include respiratory problem and cardiovascular disease. Next point, soil degradation. Mining activities can disrupt soil structure and fertility, leads to soil erosion, compaction and loss of productivity. This can have long-term consequences for agriculture activity and food security in the affected area. Deforestation. Mining operations often require clearing large area of land for infrastructure development and extraction activity, leads to deforestation and loss of forest ecosystem. Deforestation not only contributes to habitat loss and biodiversity decline, but also accelerate climate change by reducing carbon sequestration capacity. Social impact. Overexploitation of minerals can have significant social impact, including displacement of communities, loss of livelihoods, and conflict over land and resources. Indigenous people and marginalized communities are often disproportionately affected by mining activity, facing land rights violation, cultural disruption, and social inequalities. Resource depletion. Overexploitation of minerals can deplete finite resources, leading to scarcity and increase competition for remaining reserves. This can drive up prices, exacerbate geopolitical tensions, and hinder sustainable development efforts. Long-term sustainability challenges. Overexploitation of minerals undermines the long-term sustainability of ecosystem and economics, as it depletes natural capacity without adequate consideration for future generation. Sustainable mining practices and resource management strategy are essential to mitigate this impact and ensure the responsible utilization of mineral resource. Let us see environmental damages caused by mining activity. Extracting and use of mineral resource can affect the environmental adversely. Environmental effect may depend on factors such as mining procedures or quality, climate, size of operation, topography, etc. Some of the major environmental impact of mining and process operations are as mentioned under. Devegetation, effect on growth of vegetation due to leaching out effect of minerals. Topsoil and vegetation get removed. Deforestation leads to several ecological losses. Landscape gets badly affected. Groundwater contamination. Mining pollutes groundwater. Sulfur is converted into sulfuric acid, which enters into the soil. Surface water pollution. Radioactive wastage and other acidic impurities affect the surface water, which kills many aquatic animals. Air pollution. Smelting and roasting are done to purify the metal, which emits air pollutant and damage the nearby vegetation. It causes many health problems. Substances of land. Mainly underground mining results in cracks in houses, tilting of building and bending of rail tracks. Degradation of land. Deforestation affects flora and fauna. Rehabilitation of affected population. Now, let us recap what we have learned in today's session. In today's session, we have learned conservation of forests, relation between deforestation and biodiversity, relation between deforestation and tribal population, mineral resources, use of minerals, exploitation of mineral and its effect, and lastly, we have learned environmental damages caused by mining activity. Thank you.